Are you not sure whether you should wildcard in Game Week 9 or not? Or are you already on a wildcard chip in Game Week 9 and looking for the best possible draft? Watch this video till the end to find all those answers for your FPL team in Game Week 9. Now guys, we'll start this video with why you should wildcard in Game Week 9, and then we'll cover off the top 3 drafts that you can go for your wildcard team. If you're not satisfied with your team, if you're not convinced with your FPL picks, with the options that you have in your team, maybe you have a lot of options who are injured at the moment, maybe you don't have the best options or they have tough fixtures coming up. Let's say if you want to get off Arsenal players, let's say if you have a triple up on Arsenal and you also have 2 to 3 players from Man City, well that's basically 6 players who would blank in Game Week 12 guys, and using the wildcard in Game Week 9 could easily help you to at least get rid of the Arsenal players and target some other options in the short run. That's one of the biggest advantages of using the wildcard in Game Week 9 guys. Other than that guys, let's say if you have some options from Brighton, Man United, maybe some other team that you're not convinced with, the wildcard can easily help you get rid of those players and target players from teams like West Ham, Crystal Palace, Leicester, even Chelsea and Aston Villa guys. All these teams have decent fixtures and you can target some options in the short to medium term run. Now guys, the wildcard also gives you an advantage to change your team structure. Let's say if you have a lot of money invested in your defense, if you're going heavy in defense, maybe you're going heavy in midfield or even an attack for that matter, and if you want to shift those funds guys, you might have to use more transfers, maybe more than 2 transfers to get that order right, and wildcard in Game Week 9 can easily help you switch the structure and get the best possible team for Game Week 9 and beyond. Now guys, these are the reasons why you should do the wildcard or use the wildcard in Game Week 9. There are also some cons of using the wildcard in Game Week 9 guys. I think one of the biggest cons of using the wildcard in Game Week 9 is that you cannot deaden the team into the blank game week in Game Week 12 and then wildcard in Game Week 13 for the fixture swings for teams like Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City and even Man United. So these fixtures are really good from an attacking point of view guys, and you can get big hitters, heavy hitters from these premium teams which you might not have, or you might not have the option right now in the Game Week 9 wildcard. Also guys, I think there are some tricky 50-50 decisions to kind of look at. I mean, you would possibly take out a Gabriel Jesus, even Gabriel in defense from Arsenal, and you might punt on certain players from let's say West Ham, Leicester, Aston Villa, who are of course punts at the end of the day and they may or may not work for you. Now another reasoning guys, it may be the reason why you should do the wildcard, because if you, let's say if you want to target differentials, I mean it's just weird to kind of call out Liverpool players as differential options. But guys, if you are looking to jump on Liverpool players a little bit earlier than the others, I think that's one of the reasons that you can probably use the wildcard. But then that is also a con guys in terms of Liverpool assets. I mean, they've not hit the ground running, they've not been that great. There are a lot of value, so the likes of Trent and Salah, they're costing a lot of money. And I mean, yes, there could be an argument that they might do well against Brighton because Brighton doesn't have Potter. It might be an easier fixture for Liverpool considering it's a home game, because Liverpool at home are still a lot better than what they've shown us away from home. But I think it could be a tricky decision guys to whether go for these Liverpool options like Salah and Trent from Game Week 9, or maybe just go with them or go for them from Game Week 12 when the fixtures become a lot easier. There's also lack of information guys, so we don't have a lot of information in terms of how Chelsea are going to play or what will be their lineup, what are the preferred players in those certain positions, and I think we're still a couple of games away from getting an understanding of how the Potter game is going to happen at Chelsea. So I think there's a lack of clarity there. So these are some cons guys. It's of course team dependent, and if you feel that your team is in a need of a wildcard guys, do press that button and try to make your team for Game Week 9 of course and beyond as well, keeping the Game Week 12 blank in mind, and also the fixtures for teams like Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool and Man United from Game Week 13 onwards, because they are definitely going on a great run. Now this is the first draft that we have guys. With this draft we have 0.1 million in the bank, so there's not a lot of flexibility, but of course we'll talk about certain downgrades and certain upgrades that can help you switch and change the squad. Now in terms of goal guys, we've gone for Nick Pope, who's a great option still. I think if you're looking at a goalkeeper in isolation, I think he's still the best option to go for. Newcastle are conceding a lot of shots and shots on target, which means that Nick Pope is making a lot of saves because they're not conceding a lot of goals. I think that really bodes well from a saves points potential guys. He is also in there to get you clean sheets. I mean, Newcastle are still a good defense and they can get clean sheets. So I think Nick Pope is a great option to go for. In case if you want to save some money, guys, Guaita is another option to go for. We've seen that Crystal Palace haven't really looked that great in defense, but it could also be a reason that they were having trickier fixtures. Now that the fixture run is getting kinder, guys, the defense might improve or could improve, and I think Vieira would definitely focus on defense, would focus on getting that defense right, giving a lot of potential to clean sheets and a lot of potential to FPL players to get points off Guaita, guys. So I think if you're saving money, I think it has to be Guaita. Otherwise, Nick Pope is a great option to go for. In terms of the second keeper, guys, I'm still not 100% confident in terms of which keeper is going to start for Leicester, whether it's going to be Ward or Iverson. So if you want to save some money, maybe you go Iverson. I think Iverson is 3.9 million at the moment, but I think Ward is in there. I mean, if we get some news that Ward is getting benched and Iverson is getting starts, I think then Iverson will come in as a second keeper. Nevertheless, we're not really going to play the second keeper. It's just there to get us some cover, get us some security in case if something happens to Pope. Now, in terms of our defense, guys, we've gone for two premium options and one a sort of a semi-premium option here, guys. Now, two premiums are Cancelo and James, guys. In case if you want to go for a third premium option, guys, there's also an optionality to go for Trent, and of course, you can do that as well. I've not done that because I feel that Liverpool have trickier fixtures, especially when it comes to getting clean sheets. I mean, of course, they've not looked that great, and that's why not a lot of people are very heavy in terms of going for Trent, going for Robertson, etc. Of course, Robertson has also that injury to kind of take care. But I think going for Cancelo and James, I think these are the two options that are going to be pretty much nailed in that premium category, guys. Both are really, really good options. Yes, Cancelo has slightly trickier fixtures, but I just feel that the potential that we can get for the Cancelo is massive, guys, and I think he's a must-have or a great option in that defense on a wild card. The third option is Trippier. I think this is also going to be a very popular option. I think these three would form the core of your defense, guys. Now, other two options are basically cheaper options, and of course, you can still save more money here. We had the likes of Patterson, who's got an injury now, so we might not be able to get him. So that's why we've gone for Guehi, guys, from Crystal Palace. I think Crystal Palace defense is expected to get better with easier fixtures, and with 4.3 million, he's not really a lot of value. So you can play him in the easier fixtures, you can bench him for the tougher games, and then have a core, have a back three of Cancelo, James, and Trippier. So I think that's the thinking here. Neco Williams is still a great option to go for. Of course, I got him very early on, but I think he's still the best budget option to go for. There might not be a lot of clean sheets, but maybe you can get off an assist, maybe a goal of something of that, so something of an attacking return, guys, and get some advantage with Neco Williams. I mean, the potential is there. Yes, we've still not seen a huge haul from Neco Williams, but that might happen. Now, in terms of the midfield, guys, we've gone here with Zaha, Maddison, and Bowen as three options in that 8-ish million midfield spot, guys. I know some of you might just go with two, and which is absolutely fine, and you might just downgrade a Bowen, for example, to a cheaper option. Maybe a Bailey, for example, from Aston Villa, who's decent fixtures, who's a very cheap option. Maybe you just go for an option which is even cheaper than Bailey, guys. So that optionality is definitely there, guys. But I think with a lot of options in, let's say, Foden, for example, there's Kulusevski as well, there's Saka as well. So there are a lot of changes that you can do to these picks, guys, and there's a lot of flexibility in these price points. Of course, if you want to downgrade, let's say somebody like a Zaha, for example, who I think is also a great option on a wild card. Considering that Crystal Palace has great fixtures, guys, he's the glue man, he's the main man for Crystal Palace. If Palace are going to do well from an attacking point of view, guys, I think Zaha will be involved. He's also in penalties. I think he's great value in that 7-ish million price point, guys. And I think if you want to downgrade, of course, Martinelli is one option that you can go for. Let's say if you have a lot of money invested in Martinelli, and if you don't want to lose that money, guys, I think you can stick Martinelli in place of Bowen, for example, who's not shown a lot so far. The last game that he played, he looked really promising. I think he was a bit unlucky not to get any attacking returns. And I think with easier fixtures, that might change, guys. It's still a risk. It's still a punt because we've not really seen anything from Bowen. But I think my gut feel says that he's going to do really, really well. And I think you could easily go for him, guys. He's also a great differential. So the likes of Zaha, Maddison, Bowen are great differentials for your team, guys. They're short-term picks before you kind of go towards a Foden, for example, before you kind of go towards a Saka, for example. But I think all of these three are good options to go for. We have Salah in this draft, guys, and I think a lot of you already have KDB, maybe who's not in a wild card. I think a lot of you would be having KDB. Some of you also would be having Son, for example, and both of them are decent picks to go for, guys. They're safe picks. I think Son also has decent fixtures, so he can do really, really well. We know that he got a hat-trick and he looks to be back in some sort of form, and I think we can definitely rely a bit more on Son at the moment. Now, Salah is a great option because the next game is against Brighton, guys. It's a Potterless Brighton team. Then they have Arsenal in Game Week 10 and Man City in Game Week 11. So those 10 and 11 are trickier fixtures. So if you feel that maybe Salah is not in form, maybe Liverpool is not in form, they're probably not going to do that great against these trickier oppositions, then maybe you stick to a Son, maybe you go even cheaper and then try to invest in a third attacker, which is maybe, let's say, like somebody like a Kane, for example. So that's an option as well. But I think getting onto Salah would give you a differential advantage. You can even captain Salah this week, guys, because I think Salah might have more potential to points this week, especially with the likes of KDB and Haaland playing Man United, and Tottenham also not having the easiest set of fixtures. So I think there could be a case made for Salah, but again, if you're not convinced with Salah, guys, you maybe go for a Son or a KDB. Now, in terms of the other options in attack, guys, we've gone for Mitrovic, Haaland and Solanke. So we have an optionality to play 3 up front. We can play a 3-4-3, we can even play a 4-3-3, but I think Mitrovic and Haaland are pretty much locks in most of the wildcard teams, guys. I think it's about the third spot, and that is where the debate is. A lot of people are going for likes of Ivan Toney. I think he's also a great option to go for. He has a great fixture this week. Then he has slightly trickier fixtures. But I think Ivan Toney in that Brentford team, guys, he's also that main man. He's also on penalties. He's creative. He can score goals. We've already seen that this season. So I think he's a great option still. But let's say if you want slight optionality, but maybe Solanke is going to be on your bench for most weeks, and you still want that option available, I think he's a great pick. In case if you want to save more money, let's say if you are eyeing for certain players, maybe this team has, of course, it might have a different team value than your team, and you might not be able to afford certain picks of this team, guys, then you can probably downgrade Solanke to a 4.5 or even a cheaper 4.3, 4.4 million striker and save some money there. That will mean that you will probably play a 3-5-2 or a 4-4-2 for most weeks, which is also fine, I think, and I think you should be good to go there. Now, coming to the second draft, guys, not much has changed in this draft. Of course, we have Trent, who's come in this draft. We have 0.2 million in the bank, so there's again some flexibility there. So we have Trent here, who's also a premium option. So we have a decent back four of Trent, Cancelo, James, and Trippier. So you're most probably going to play a back four for most weeks. Then we have Zaha, Maddison. Instead of Salah, as I was mentioning earlier, let's say if you are not convinced with Salah, you have Son in this team, who's also a lot cheaper, and that kind of helps you get towards a Trent. Now, in case of a Bowen, guys, we have Martinelli in this team. So in case if you don't want to get rid of Martinelli, in case you have some plan for Martinelli, I mean, just make sure that you have some plan for Martinelli, considering that you might not want to get rid of Haaland or even Cancelo for that Game Week 12 blank. Then if Martinelli is also there, that will be 3 players who are blanking in Game Week 12, and you might not have a playing 11. So just keep that in mind. But if you want to stick with Martinelli, I think he's also a decent option. The fixtures aren't that easy, guys. It's Tottenham this week, then it's Liverpool in Game Week 10. The Leeds fixture is a banker fixture, guys. That is where you can get a lot of FPL points. So if you are looking to play Martinelli for that week, and then you have some sort of a plan for Martinelli in Game Week 12, I think that makes a lot of sense. So he's also an option in case if you are looking at a 6.5 million option. I think he's still the standout and the best option in that sort of a price range. Now we've retained Zaha and Maddison here, guys. I think they're the top 2 picks in terms of that 8 odd million, slightly lesser than 8 million price bracket, and I think these two are decent options in midfield. They're worth punting over the next few weeks because of the fixtures are great. They're standard options in their respective team, guys, and I think they can get a lot of FPL points for your team. Now we also have a third draft here, guys, in case if you don't want to go for a Salah, maybe a KDB, even a Son, for example. If you don't want to retain that premium spot, I think there's also an option to go for a bit heavy, or maybe for a Kane, for example, up top, and have that optionality of playing 3 up top with Mitrovic, Haaland and Kane. Now this draft has Trent as well, guys, so there's a lot of money tied in defense, in premium defenders, and it doesn't have that premium midfield spot. So that's the reason I personally don't like this draft. But in case if you want to go for Kane, the option is there to go for a Harry Kane, guys. Have the likes of Zaha and Maddison, even Martinelli in midfield, and then maybe have 2 cheap midfield options in Bailey and Pereira, guys, who are playable options. I mean, you can easily play them for the easier fixtures, and considering that Aston Villa has decent fixtures in the short run, I think you can easily play Bailey in the manageable attacking games. Now, guys, there's one more draft that I've not mentioned or covered here, but in case if you're looking for a premium option, which means you're going for 3 premiums in your team. So let's say if you are going for one of Salah, Son or KDB, and then you have Haaland and Kane in there as well, guys, that's also an option. But I think there are a lot of sacrifices that you have to make for that team. You may not have Trent, you may not have a lot of premium defenders, you might not have enough money for a Zaha. So there are some options there, of course, that you can go for. But I think the sacrifices that you have to make to get an additional premium, I think that kind of reduces or minimizes that optimal balance for FPL squad, guys. And that's why I don't like the 3-man option, guys. But in case if you want to go for that, that's also an option. So these are the drafts that you can go for, guys. And of course, there's no correct draft here. It totally depends on the kind of players that you want for your team, the kind of planning that you are doing. I mean, what's your plan for the blank in Game Week 12? Or how are you trying to get in the players, premium players from premium teams who have decent fixtures from Game Week 13 onwards. So I think these are two major factors in terms of deciding which draft to go for, guys. All drafts are pretty good, guys, and definitely take your pick. So that's all for this video, guys. I hope this wildcard video, this ultimate wildcard guide, was helpful in setting up your wildcard team for Game Week 9. Hit like if you enjoyed the video today, guys. Subscribe to the Insanely Football YouTube channel for more FPL content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you Insaners next time.